things did happen this week and featured in this week. Those are the things that really made my week, and still continuing and looking forward to very many things as we still have some hours to end the week. I know there are so many that could come through. I don't know what really featured in your week, Christine and Magizi, before we go into road carnage. Christine?
Thank you, Amon. For me, it is the UPDF Amendment Act again, and mainly because the speed with which we are rushing to bring this law and pass it is a bit concerning. I work for an accountability CSO, and one of our worries, for example, is that the general public, well, they were not even invited, but we had only one day for whoever, institutions, people's representatives, whoever wanted to go and discuss this bill and share their inputs and concerns, or really one day for opening up and having people come to share their input before they have even read and internalized the bill, puts a picture out there of a bit of lack of transparency and accountability. So for me, I think the whole process with which Parliament, again, they are our representatives, but the way they act as if not representing the interests of the people is what continues to concern us. Yeah. So that was my biggest highlight of the week as well.
Interesting. Okay. Chirindru?
Thank you very much once again. My highlight of the week was the defense drill, the CDF defense drills at Kororo. An army of the country.
Many people were perplexed about the exercise. On your side, what was the significance?
That's what I was going to talk about. That for an entire army to be engaged in a drills competition, you realize that it's because there is peace. So they have some little time to, do perfect, because these drills are normally done on occasions, but now they are even done at the leisure time, because we largely are a peaceful country now, because a very busy army won't have that time for is getting consolidated in Uganda. Maybe on the international scene is the visit of Trump to the Middle East while Gaza is burning. So
yeah, Trump.
I find that ironic, and it was even little discussed. Only deals were discussed. So those are the two issues of the week that I followed up very much.
And the gifts that President Trump did receive from the prince.
That one was a
interesting. When you commenting on the UPDF drills and the peaceful nation that we have, I realized Christine was the facial expression of Christine. We're talking about
UPDF, because I mean they are the ones who are supposed to keep us peaceful, so there's nothing like peace for them, because either way the population does not want to get up in arms and come and fight them. So at whatever point,
so it was their thing.
It was their thing. Really.
Interesting. We can continue to road carnage. A big threat to all of us. We are all victims, if I may say, not prophesying, not if I don't become a prophet of doom, but most of us have been so very much affected in one way or the other. At least we have a friend, at least you have a neighbor, at least you have a relative, at least you have an OB or OG or anyone that you're close to that has succumbed to this big epidemic that I may call a silent killer. Road carnage, road accidents. The other day we saw a truck burning. We have seen the bus some bus of recent that had an accident and went into ashes. Very many lives were lost. And every day, if you watch TV, you can, or listen to the radio, or read in the papers, you cannot fail to get or you to come across people who have lost their arms, who have lost their limbs, the people who have lost their legs because of road carnage. What is your comment? and where is the problem that Uganda police force through the traffic department that they have introduced, which is so much of the fines. People, I've seen people already tagging it as the fines fines system or money making system. I don't know on your side, but let's first dive into road carnage. On your side, what do you think is the main trigger, main cause of the road carnage? Christian.
Yeah, thank you, Amon. And rightly so, as you observe, I think road carnage should be one of our priority areas increasingly as a country for us to address the biggest role to play in as far as reducing this pandemic or epidemic, like you called it, is concerned. But as looking at the statistics, and they are really worrying, we are taking on an upward trend, every year. I looked at the traffic accident report that came out recently, and it is worrying. We see the number of crashes, for example, increasing. In 2022, we had 20,000, 27, because we seem to see, but over and above, it is worrying, and about 10 deaths are attributed to traffic crashes every day. If you're losing 10 people to traffic accidents on a daily, then that is cause for worry. But most importantly, we see that reckless driving accounts for 78% of these crashes. Just reckless driving, human error, and this is something that can be prevented and by individuals themselves, even without government coming in to enforce, to control, and etc. And of course, we see that the people that are so much that we need to do as a country, both citizens working together with government, putting aside, of course, all other differences to be able to address this challenge that we are facing. But we see quite a mix of causes for these road traffic accidents, and these are both government in as far as enforcing, developing policies, but especially enforcing these policies. And I will underline the corruption in this enforcement. And so we need to come up and confront this if we are to be able to reduce road carnage in this country. For example, you look at our infrastructure, specifically that enables pedestrians to safely use our roads. We do not have, most of our roads do not have proper pedestrian facilities. Talk about the walkways, talk about crossings, zebra crossings. I mean, there's a story that always, it is sad, but it always makes me laugh in a way. How when you're going to use a zebra crossing, maybe in town, and there's these taxi touts and the conductors, and they are shouting at people, are you zebras? Can you move away? So there's no respect at all for zebra crossings in this country. And of course, this
even where in circumstances where
even where we have tried as a country to put in place these pedestrian walkways. Go to Ginger Road here, just opposite UMI. That is, and they do not respect these pedestrians. They come, they are knocking them off, and so we see that it is increasingly getting unsafe. But also when we talk about the pedestrians themselves, the carelessness, we have flyovers that are supposed to help, at least for busy roads. The most maybe prominent is one in Akawa. But how many people are using entirely inviting, danger as pedestrians, but also as road users. A newspaper article some time back I read, and they were referring to this Mabira Forest Road as the gateway to hell, potholes after potholes, and then drivers are trying to dodge, and so actually potholes, the state of our roads, the condition of our roads that we are seeing on these roads Of course, I talked about the risk behaviors of our pedestrians, but I also want to talk about enforcement. We have these traffic officers, we have them come on the roads. Perhaps they send them come and, police the roads, enforce. But then the very people who send them to come and enforce are the ones who receive those phone calls, and then and then they tell them, no, you leave that one off, let that one go. So I mean, the corruption. And sometimes they don't need that phone call. They'll find a vehicle in dangerous mechanical condition, and they'll give them as little as 5,000, And I do not want to attribute that to the poverty, to the low pay. It is the integrity of the person. So if you take that 5,000 and leave this car to go off, and it causes an accident, then you're as responsible as the person who has knocked down this person as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so very much, Christian. Allow me come to you, Chilinju, on what you think is the biggest challenge that we are facing, that for all the years 20, 30 and counting, we have failed to tackle this killer. Have we failed to realize the cause of the disease, that we don't know which antidote to apply, or we know but no one cares, as long as I haven't been a victim?
Uganda is not alone in Africa, actually. We are doing badly continent-wise. If you look at some of the statistics of 2023 by World Health Organization, Global Status Report on road safety, Africa, 100,000 people, compared to 16 deaths of the same number of people, 100,000 in Asia, and 6. For me, the causes are several, but to me, the first number one is we import cars whose speed is 90 kilometers per hour. Because I was talking to people of Ministry of Roads or Ministry of Works, they were like, by law, generally, you're supposed the maximum speed in Uganda is 90 kilometers per hour. Yet you are seated on a machine whose speed maximum is double. So as you drive, you are tickled to go past the 90, especially where the road seems to be a bit okay. But you cannot, driving 300 kilometers by 300 kilometers a whole day is not easy. You cannot be alert all the time for those 300, 400 kilometers from here to Soro or Kanungu. So the machine's speed limits versus your road limits sometimes becomes a problem. So you find yourself driving at 120 in a stretch where you are supposed to have ended at 80. Parity there. Number two, of course, ourselves, drivers. Especially when they introduced automated vehicles, the quality of drivers fell badly. Because to drive a manual car, you really lesson. And if I owned a manual car, teaching somebody would be very difficult, because it's as if I'm spoiling my car. So people were forced to go to driving schools, and they would come out when they are better drivers. But now we are running driving in our compounds. These automated vehicles, before you know it, somebody just shows up at the IOV that I know they do. Even if your car is let us say Land Cruiser, TX, and you're going to IOV, you go with the yet in reality you own
and you leave your TX that
you leave the TX at all,
on a daily
because
basis.
it's going to be very difficult for you to fix it into that box. So, but a little money.
Or use
for now, for today, take my TX. Let me be using your short for to.
Is it by design or choice that they are using the learners' cars? They do
I
not
don't
have
know.
theirs.
That is what has confused me as well. That I don't know. But maybe if Fafanda was around, he would have helped us understand that. But they no longer say come with this type of car, even when it's automatic. Actually, even taxi people who drive manual cars, when they go there with an automatic car, because it is easier for you to, especially if you read a. But you know, you want to test whether the guy can drive a taxi. Our car conditions. So you have a bad road, you have a bad driver, and you have a DMC. Now the combination of the three is simply a disaster. It is unfortunate these days when somebody says I'm driving to the village, you worry more than if somebody says I'm going to hospital. Because you are at least in hospital, you are sure the guy will come back. But you are going to where? Cover a car. I don't know. Let me pray for you. So it is terrible to start thinking like that. Masaka, there is that swamp, that town you come to when you are going the other side. We found so much traffic jam and we were wondering what's happening. It was not even jam actually, cars had stopped. So when we found out, a truck had crashed into a nearly parked taxi and killed almost 70% of the occupants in that town, not somewhere in the town. So you cannot even blame the speed of the taxi because the taxi was not going anywhere. It was a slow jam. There are humps, but this truck couldn't brake. It is an old truck. Probably the guy just went to a garage. Maybe I don't know when. He reaches in town when it is like a small slope. He couldn't stop, and the taxi people were the victims. So these conditions of the cars.
Okay.
Then also we have our unregistered borders who, they respect nobody. They just jump into even in front of trains. You are like, really, are you mad? Then we also have, of course, in town we have drunk driving. You go somewhere, you think you are going to come early. Your friends come, take one for the potholes, take one for this. Before you know it, you are going home drunk. And crashing into something Madame Christine mentioned on integrity of the traffic people. That they taking 5,000 is it's not a case of being broke, but integrity. Realistically,
I've had people able to go through.
Let us face it.
Is the after when you have left them, so can kill someone.
No, realistically, you have got to let's be fair. Let's understand. Sometimes integrity can be pushed to the limit as well. You pay me for 400,000 a month, and then you are telling me to go and be on the road checking whether people are driving well. Now 20 people pass by me, and 15 of them have issues, and you can imagine the level of breaking the law is so high that even me, I'm really, my integrity has been pushed to the limit. And each of them is saying, yes, my fine is 100,000, but let me leave 20. Why would I take the 20? So it's a case of you give me $1 billion to utilize, then you give me salary of 500,000. You are really pushing my integrity to the limit. I think we need to remunerate some of these traffic officers better, such that they are also, even punish the person for taking a bribe, you are really justified. You are like, I pay you well, why would you do that? Okay. You get it. That's why they increase the salary, by the way, of permanent secretaries. Because the accounting officers, they used to be paid 5 million. Why wouldn't a PS also be they had to increase their salary to around 15. You get it. So let's not say you need integrity only. You also need your needs may not respect your integrity. You have left children homesick. so that is one issue that we should look at.
Interesting.
I'm burning to just come in, to just interject there. Yeah, because honestly, I do not buy that issue. So when the permanent secretary's salaries were increased, has anything changed? Have they become less corrupt? I mean, Amon, this is something that we usually want to, and etc. You can't tell me about it, that integrity is pushed to the limit, because we see those who are police traffic officers who are not getting much, but they cannot take a bribe. They cannot take a bribe.
My point is, if you are punishing a person whom you pay well, you punish them when you are confident that you know what you deserve the punishment. But
because we gave you
sure you are comfortable enough so that you don't put your hand into the till.
No, I think that brings in play this issue of selective application, because when you're making laws and policies and rules, you're making them for all citizens, whether well off, whether not well off, and ideally when we are applying them, it should be uniform across board. Really, I think that does not even have to come in play.
Okay, all we are talking about people misbehaving on the road, violating traffic rules, and also the policies that have been put and established by this beautiful country, that we all may live in this country without jeopardizing one's rights or the other, but we're also not killing the other. And that is why Uganda Police Force, under their traffic department or section, they have introduced a very new system, which it EPS. This new system, automated system, that if you don't have a driving permit, which you all talk to, especially Chilinju, that you say that most of the drivers are not really drivers ideal, but there are those who are just learners on the road. But according to the system, all of them are going to be checked on how you are going to be driving your car, whether you're a senior or junior learner, the speed, the fines that you have, and or just 1,000 to 5,000 or 50 according to the note you wish to give them. But this time is going to be a system that is going to be put on your phone, and you have a notification that Chirinju, Amon or Christine, you have bypassed this camera on traffic lights of this and have violated this policy or rule or traffic rule, and so you have been fined 200, especially for overspeeding. I have seen that in Kampala is going to be 30 meters per hour. How do you see this system? Is it going to be a game changer, or it is just like any other system that we have seen in this country?
I want to help out a few areas because you see, because they are saying it's going to be an automated system. I think it falls under what they called Intelligent Transport Management System, ITMS, and most of your red light, adherence, and then of course to also have your number plate. So all those integrated systems will so it is going to help out, because if I am fined, say, let me even consider my head is going to start working properly when it comes to driving, because no one is beating me, no one is putting me under. No one is chasing me, but I am getting messages. Go to police and go to URA and pay this amount of money because you passed one gear, you jumped lights. Either I park the car or I just budget 200,000 a month. So it's up to me to decide whether I want to keep losing 200,000 to traffic fines or to drive well. So some of the fines are actually 2 million. So you can imagine if you
imprisonment.
So imagine if I got a message of 2 million on my account, on my SMS, I would definitely park the car. You get it. So it's going to help there. However, the system is going to have a lot of issues, because if you look at Kampala, beginning from say 3 in the afternoon, our lights stop. They can no longer control our traffic. Why? When they hit green and we start moving, not to go through, and then it changes lights into another direction even before these ones are completely cleared. So you find that the police or the traffic personnel have got to come in physically. So I'm told they were discussing with the people of works. They were they would advise for a police person or the traffic person to stand where the camera can see them, such that fines don't just keep flowing to 100 people, and because the camera may not realize what is going on. She just sees people are basically running a red light. It just sends a message that Mageza has passed here with in the red challenge. It's going to be a challenge, especially our mornings and our evenings. However, maybe at night, maybe during the day, the cameras may have some work. But in the mornings and evenings, I can assure you, there will be no work. Then of course another problem another problem that this system may face is power. I'm told I don't know whether most of them are going to be powered by solar, but when our solar is low, they are not on as well. If it is electricity, we still have a challenge of constant power, that is reliably on all the time. So those intermittent power shortages are going to affect the system. The system looks good. It's if all its ingredients are in place.
Okay.
But otherwise, right now it has those hindrances.
But it's also looking at the fines that are attached to the penalties and the fines, but also using the phone while driving, a fine of 2 million or imprisonment for up to 1 year or both. Overspeeding 200, especially from 1 to 30 km per hour, or 600 if speeding over 30 kilometers per hour. Failing to wear a seat belt, that is 80,000. Using an unlicensed or an insured car, 200 to 600. Causing injury or death due to careless driving, 1.5. You have killed someone literally, and all the fine that you have is just 1.5 and you are safe. But also careless driving is 1.2 million to 1.8 million, and imprisonment for 2 or 3 years or both. Christine, what did you read in this?
Amon, as looking at the National Road Safety Action Plan 2021-22 to 2025-26 plan, it was to reduce road fatalities and injuries by 25% by 2026 actually. But what we read and the statistics that we are given is that there's an increase instead of a reduction, and the increase seems to be steady. It is growing and it is worrying. We have seen previous endeavors by government. We have seen them introduce quite a number of measures. Unfortunately, I don't know if they do bits of planning before they bring out some of these measures, but we have seen quite a number of them. We have, I think, the late now, Kaunyemu, the drunk driving at night. And yes, Magezi, people seem to be not bothered by the fines. People are able to have pulled it down, but off air, I'll tell you why. This is no longer happening. That is one. But we had the Fika Salama in 2016, I think, when it was introduced because of that road, the Masaka, Mbarara Masaka, Kampala Masaka, Mbarara Road. And, it is not as effective now as it was. We have, government does undertake public road safety campaigns, but we only see these in December, when we are going to travel the roads, when there's going to be a lot of travel anticipated anyway, because on a daily people do use those highways, and they only come out in December to raise awareness, as if that is when accidents are anticipated. And I think these campaigns were working. At least they were touching me. When you see visually with your eyes someone who has gone through it, explaining and telling you what happened, I think that would touch someone and would reduce. But we also see other enforcement, other regulations, like you must have helmets. There's a time they were talking about introducing helmets, even for border borders. I don't know what happened to that one. It just went down. We were talking about seat belts. After Honorable Ayume passed on, that was some time back, something that they do. So there's quite a lot, and now we are introducing that speed limit, 30, and automating. So for me, I feel government is really not working towards this, the reduction of fatalities, it is no wonder that we see the percentage going up and not down. The focus of government is just to know what is the problem. Why are pedestrians behaving this way? Why are drivers and riders, for example, behaving like this? Majority of road accidents involve border riders, and we've clearly seen that. You go to Mulago and, every maybe 30 minutes, there are quite a number of accident victims that are coming in as a result of borders. But look at, just as you're moving, even when we go out here and stand on the road, you'll most likely find out of the 2 or 3 borders that pass, one border will be carrying 3 people or 4 or 5, and these continuously pass in front of traffic officers. They just like Magazi was saying, they just rush. They don't respect these traffic lights. But it is not only the citizens. Surprisingly, even the traffic officers themselves do that. Recently, as at a traffic light, waiting for it to turn green, and I move. It was red, and a traffic officer came from behind on his will the camera see and say, this is a traffic officer, I cannot. Or will a car that has a right of way brake and say, this is a traffic officer, I can't, So we need to lead by example, but most important, see this being sustained beyond 6 months, or at least beyond next year March, because again, our systems are riddled with the Godfather syndrome, so to speak. Will not pay, even when the system has identified and said this and this. It is so unfortunate that in this country now, everyone seems to be connected somehow. Someone is connected to this one and is connected. So that is why we will not be successful, or we are largely not successful with some of these policies, with some of these laws, because those who work their way around them, those who try and evade them, and successfully so, are so many compared to the few that these policies will catch. So that for me is something that I feel might not be very effective, but rather I would suggest or prefer that government puts a lot of energies into, especially the awareness raising. If we were to do this on a daily, and not wait for December or those peak seasons, I think we need to put that iron hand on the side and get to the drawing table. We invite the citizens, and we both, work through this. Otherwise, this might not be very effective.
Okay, interesting.
I wanted to say something on the issue of Gambano, or where somebody may be forgiven.
The connected people. So the connected.
Now because the system is integrated, as it captures you in the wrong, URA gets to know, Works gets to know, police gets to know. So if somebody at police headquarters removes you, the system at Works retains you,
and URA.
So it's going to be difficult for Uganda no-nos to survive. That maybe also government people should be given private cars, so that everybody is at par with the system.
Driving, I think you also have to meet this penalty.
But that's what Madam Christian was raising. For example, if the Chief Justice is passing, he's not going to be in our jam. The lead guy is going to pass, raiding, and the system don't hear those sounds. You just know this one has passed.
They're going to be driving more than 30 kilometers per hour.
Exactly.
The laws are honestly fair, because the system, likewise, it will not read this is the Chief Justice, this is the what, and so really, by and large, I think for me, I actually prefer that they retain their public vehicles so that we keep seeing what they are doing. You know, they are the ones who climb on pavements, they are the ones who drive the other way. Even those who do not have a right of way, they drive and, you know, face the other way. And when the traffic officers stop them, they even dare to knock them. And
There's something that I wanted to also say something about. This where you mentioned 1.5 for an accident of murder, of where somebody has died. Most of these accidents of where you crash somebody head on and dies, they tend to happen on when they happen in Kampala. It's border people. Upon the border person, if you ask 1.5 from him, that one is out of business. So it's still a little bit punitive to me. However, also realize that many times when a vehicle knocks a border and the person dies, normally the border who has died is in the mistake. So I think to arrive at 1.5, they must have considered many of those things that he.
But this is someone who has died. But also I'm looking at the circumstance or in a situation where you have killed someone head on. That is a case on its own. But also to investigate, you were drunk.
Yeah, no.
Also get the other 500 added to this one.
No, this is what
200. But also to find out as investigations go on, you never had a license. We all have those penalties combined, and you'd find that in one case one would be paying more than 3 to 4 million.
I think even before these rules came, I think a drunken
1.5 and all is gone.
I think the drunken crash that results in 2 deaths, I think weren't they being charged with murder? Because honestly, people for me, drunkenness and phone use on is too far. You get it. At least these ones should be punished more. Drunk driving and then phone use, because these are some of the very necessary. You park on the roadside, and you use your phone, and So these two are a little bit unforgivable. They should be punished very strongly. Drunkenness and phone use.
The spirit of the law and of these policies, are they really looking out to prevent engage in such a practice, or is it the other way? Are you trying to generate more revenues? Because
so as you're right, you can continue, because most of the people have been also admitting this as a money-making system or venture that police is opting for, not to just.
And again, had there been maybe wide consultations, because you cannot tell me
different stakeholders.
Yes, even if it was a border person, the 1.5, they will get it and pay their way out of this if someone does not prefer a charge of or a case of murder, and the time it will take, all that. But what is the impact of this person's action? You have killed someone. This is perhaps the breadwinner. You have disorganized the dependents. And etc.
Interesting. I'm going to be taking a very short break, and when I return, I'll be reading the messages and also picking your calls on 0776 511 426 07. What you think needs to be done, especially to reduce road carnage or traffic accidents that are claiming so very many lives. I am glad that we're going to be joined by the spokesperson of traffic department coming from Uganda Police Force, Michael Kananura, who is going to be addressing all these concerns in the next part of our discussion. And also I'm going to be engaging Ochiti Charles, who is the president of Pedestrians and Passengers Uganda, or UPAPA, and also sharing his perspective. But one of the things that I never wanted us to miss out on this benefit, what is the significance of this? Because we have seen in this new system that if you find, and also it has been exercise by the police when they don't when they find when you have not insured your car. It is always, where is their significance apart from coming in when you have a challenge? Don't they have about road usage and also observing the traffic rules? How do they coming into the picture? And also in the next part we're going to be looking at the pragmatic behavior of everyone. If others are doing it, why not me? That's why you see all the bodabodas driving on the pedestrian walkways. If others are doing it, why not me? If others, the traffic, I mean the law enforcement officers, if others are taking bribe on all roads, Masaka, in Barara, in Kotido, in where, why not me on Ginger Road, and I'm able to provide bread to my family? You'd find that is because of this pragmatic behavior that is also in one way or the other that is bringing a problem. But how best can we then address this? Would the system address that? I'm taking a very short break, and when I return, I'll be coming back with your calls. And also, this is UBC Ground Zero. I'm taking a very short break. I pray you don't go away.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground of Importance, aimed at addressing people's concerns. UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
Your voice, your platform for exchange of views on topical issues that concern you and our nation.
It is therefore quite comic and laughable to hear of some actors in the world.
Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. as we tackle issues of national interest.
Mahatma Gandhi was a hero for India, but was so much of a hero to the Africans who were struggling to have the liberation. Nelson Mandela was a hero to the South Africa. So it all depends. It can be global, it can be regional, it can be national, it can be communal, and it can be family.
Your voice, only on UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
At UBC Radio, all our radio network across the country is committed to inform, entertain, educate, and guide for national transformation.
Our own radio, UBC, should set its own example. Leka bano abatafa ku bantu baffe bagumaza ndowooza Muganda kitwa kugumaza, to divert people. Let our own UBC bring programs to educate the people so that abagala kugumaza babeereyo bagumaza, naye naffe they can advise, guide, and people in time will judge the one who is their friend and who is just using them.
Tune into UBC Radios for credible socio-economic programs. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
You're listening to your voice program on UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome back from that very short break. This is UBC Ground Zero. We are looking at load carnage in this country and how best we can, having a very interesting panel of guests in the studios of UBC. Majez Chirinju is the communication officer coming from Government Citizen Interaction Center. Superintendent of Police Canon Ramaiko, the spokesperson of is the project manager from Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda, and we're going to be joined by GT Charles, who is the president of Passenger and Pedestrians, also sharing his perspective. It is very important that you share what you think on that. Make sure that we reduce this and also be able to save lives, not losing lives every day. Your perspective as we wait on for Chiti to join us. Okay, as
Hello?
hello,
Yes, please.
Mr. Chiti Charles.
Yes, Chiti Charles.
Most welcome to UBC Ground Zero. You are live on 5 radio stations covering this program.
Thank you very much.
You may introduce yourself to the people of Uganda.
Thank you. How is Kampala?
You're good, sir, and we are looking at road carnage, and I understand that you are the president of pedestrians and also passengers, or Papa. I am looking at how you are reading all this, and we have numbers of people of this country losing their lives to traffic accidents or road carnage. And we also have new systems that have been set by the Uganda police.
Thank you very much. Like you have said, my name is Charles Ochiti. I am the director of an organization called UPAPA. UPAPA is a non-profit making NGO that deals in road safety training, sensitization, and advocacy. We have been doing this work for the last 15 years in the whole of Uganda, where we thought the solution for sorting out the issue of road carnage can only be answered by giving information and training road users and also the drivers. We have been doing this physically by engaging the drivers, engaging the riders single-handedly, particularly in West Nile, Northern Uganda, Eastern Uganda, the region of higher level where we engage ourselves together in ensuring that additional information is given particularly to the drivers and the riders. You are well aware that in Uganda, we have almost 2 million border who have engaged themselves in business of carrying passengers from one place to another. But unfortunately, these riders who are engaged in this business, they are really not supposed to do that business because there are a lot of standards that they have not met. One of them, most of them do not have riding permit. They have not been permitted on the road. Why? Because they did not go through the right channel to be on the road. But here they engage in doing business for passengers, just for survival. And most of them are also not trained. They are not trained on how to operate on the road. They ride for the sake of riding. And in the end, it is life and, death. Anything to do with the drivers or the road, there are 2 or 3 things. You can be injured, you can die if you don't take good care of yourself, or somebody can make mistakes and you die, or you lose your property. Therefore, road safety is a responsibility, and it is a right of every Ugandan who should take responsibility in this. I have seen the police struggling and ensuring that the law is enforced. The police usually do that in ensuring that the laws of Uganda pertaining road use, it is enforced. But most of our riders and the drivers, I could say even up to 98% of our riders, did not go through proper channels. These fellows acquired driving licenses in their own way, but honestly, in the training that I have been conducted, you'll find that these people are completely green. They do not know anything concerning the work on the road. This is why in areas where we engage them in training, like in West Nile, when we went there, I found a traffic officer there by the name of Onen, whom we work tirelessly in ensuring that we reduce road accidents. And indeed, there was a ward called Sainte Ward in Arua, where you find victims of accidents are all over there, the drivers, the riders. After our training, that one stopped. Up to now, as I speak, I am told Sainte Ward is no longer in Arua. You are well aware that we lose about 13 people on average on our road, much greater than the numbers of people we lost during Corona for the last 2 years. 2 years in Uganda, about 3,000 something people died, less than 4,000. Death on the road, it is going to be the number 1 in Uganda here. So the only solution, it is not giving, you are punishing the person, but are you sorting out the root cause? Because here we need to look at the root cause. Why is this thing happening on our road? It is because people don't know what they're supposed to do on the road. We can only achieve that by engaging them. I am happy that some of the riders, some of the leaders, like when we went to Lira, I engaged the leaders. I told them, even what is supposed to be done while driving. You know, operating on the road, it's not simply driving the vehicle forward and reverse. there are a lot of things involved which they don't know. Recently, we lost our great brother, very big. It is because a lot of things need to be done in partnership with the police. For me, I have engaged myself with the police. I spoke to the director of police who has been very supportive. Noah Guina has been in support in ensuring that we partner and train our people. A design, we can give you what we think can sort out this carnage on our road. Or else, it is not likely to stop and will continue crying. Unfortunately, people only wake up when accident involving a big personality in the country, that really there is an accident, really this thing is there. But these other smaller ones, they happen every day and people are quiet. Unfortunately, it is affecting the younger generation, younger generation who should be very useful to us, sometimes ahead of us. They are the ones who are dying on the road. For
Maybe
me,
they're
I
the
want to
ones who
appeal to
are
other people.
mostly abusing the traffic rules.
Yeah, the traffic rules need clearer. There's a regional traffic police officer by the name of Okui. Okui engaged them, said, you people, this training I have seen, it is very useful, and there are many things you don't know. I want to see all of you there. And indeed, we realized that they do not know anything. They call the so-called. And other things that we have seen, especially in our region, is that locally people have engaged themselves in sorting out wrangles which arises from road carnage. So and so are still, and in actually it's a serious case. You will have to pay heavily for causing the death of somebody on the road. And our cultural institution is getting a lot of burden out of this. We call it cholokuo. When your vehicle kills somebody, you will be engaged, you'll be told to pay something out of it. And it is heavy, you see. So we think jointly, if we join our hands in advocating for safety, you bring expertise from different angles, we sit together, we will do something. For me, I am looking at, first of all, engaging the leadership of the bus drivers. At one point we had met. Now I don't know who is there. We wanted to engage the drivers. We want to do refresher training, the drivers, all the drivers of the bus at a higher level. If we can engage ourselves with the minister, we bring them on board. We bring the taxis. These are the people who are bringing problems on the road because of ignorance of what they're supposed to do on the road.
Mr. Chiti, we were also looking at the significance and the role that is played by the insurance companies, apart from collecting the money for insurance, and we understand that if we don't pay a third party, it is one of the violations of traffic rules on the road, but also there is a heavy penalty on that. But how do they come in the picture?
Okay, when you look at the insurance company, for me, I approach Uganda Insurance Association. I told them, why don't we partner together to give...
Especially in creating the awareness?
Yeah, for them, what I realized that...
Oh, it is something that is beyond them.
What I realized is that they don't seem to buy the idea very well.
Why?
It appears if knowledge is given to them, the numbers of claimants to the insurance claiming money from them will rise up. Therefore, they will not get money. So the ignorance of the people is an advantage also to the insurance company.
Okay.
So when you tell them to...
So it is part of their
hands
strategy.
They don't
Very
think
ironic.
it's a good thing to do. That is one thing that I realized about insurance company.
So the
for us,
ignorance
like
of the road users is it benefits them in one way or the other.
Exactly. Because we know the third party is there. This third party, somebody needs to know their rights in the third party. Unlike now where people think it is just a tax, it is meant to punish them. You see? But when you tell them no, insurance, it is something for that. You find that somebody does not have a driving license, somebody does not meet what insurance company wants. So at the end, if you go to claim, they'll tell you, but you don't qualify, you don't have this, you have not done this. So I think we should sensitize. We should sensitize the drivers. We should train the drivers jointly. For us, our hands are open. Wherever we have been invited, we go. And I also want now to engage through you. If you people can organize, maybe give us contacts of the leaders of the drivers, especially the bus drivers. We meet with them. We design a structure on how we think we can begin to give information training to these people. Nothing else. It is just training. There is nothing else that we need. If we don't train our people, I want to call it refresher training, because they already say they are trained, that we want a refresher training to give them new knowledge that they didn't have.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. I am glad that the automated system whereby the drivers this time are going to be fined, and the fines are going direct on their phones. Not we are trying to reduce the human interaction where you would give a police officer something just in the hand, but this time it is going to be the phone. It is going to be your email that is going to be sending you all these fines. I don't know whether you have heard of the same in Western Nile, in Lango, in Achuri, in the areas where you are operating, and how is this going to be helping the road users?
I am aware about this, because that one is now going to go straight to going to find that person. And unfortunately, you are giving fine to a person who does not know what they are supposed to do. You see, this child does not know. What did I do really? The child will cry and say, I'm beating you because you darkened yourself. The child, they don't know whether darkening themselves is okay or not. For them, it is a routine thing that it is okay with them.
So do you think that this system was introduced and the road users do not know about it, and you aren't consulted as stakeholders in this?
We were not involved, and for me, I know that is not going to stop road carnage. It is not going to stop it. That ignorance will still continue, and people continue dying. You'll give penalties, yes, but it won't stop people from dying on the road, because you are giving it to an ignorant person who do not know what their responsibility is. We need to apportion responsibility now, not by giving fines, but by engaging them physically in a physical training. Say even for 1 week, refresher training. 1 week for a driver, bus driver. We begin with the bus drivers. Then we come to the taxi drivers all over the country. We can do this. In 6 months, I am sure a lot of changes will have happened significantly for everybody to see in this country.
Thank you so very much, which we had discussed earlier, and also what you have put together, and I'm requesting for your parting shots in this.
My pleasure. If I could have his telephone number so that we can discuss more together.
Okay, we'll share that after the program.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for creating time to speak to the people of Uganda, UBC Ground Zero.
All right.
Okay. Reaching out to us, we've been talking to Ochiti Charles, who is doing a very, very fundamental and interesting work in Acholi, Lango, districts and passenger associations, sharing his perspectives on the program. A very interesting opportunity to have you joining us, SP Michael. We've been surely waiting for you, and this is the program that we look into real issues. This program is on 5 radio stations tuning in, and many Ugandans are waiting to hear from you. We've been talking really a lot about road carnage causes and what would be the antidote, but we don't know from the side of Uganda Police Force, especially from your side as traffic department. Most welcome, sir.
Lieutenant of Police Michael Kananra, and I'm the Community Liaison Officer for the Directorate of Traffic and Road Safety. I am in charge of actual sensizations like what my brother does, Charles, the other side. But then I oversee it in the Directorate, but I also speak for the Directorate. I'm glad to be here, though I'm late. My apologies. But they say never late than never.
True. Numbers are increasing, especially when it comes to road accidents. You might find that even as we talk, somewhere on certain road, there could be someone who has lost a leg, arm, or it's tackled. And we have tackled, but not so very much, and it is claiming so very many lives on a daily basis. We're wondering on your side, what would be the main challenges that you have faced, that we have failed as a country to manage this, but also what are the mechanisms that have been put in place to save the situation?
Good. Thank you once again, and my vehicle, and I thank them for their contributions, and to those that called in to contribute. Charles, who is doing traffic and road safety, and as the people who are on the forefront of enforcement. it is true that we have had crashes increasing day by day. If you look at the statistics of 2014, comparing them with the ones of 2024, 10 years down the road, we have seen an increase of 80.8%. Meaning if we had 2008 something in 2014, we have now last year, according to our annual crime report of police, we saw 5,144 people die in road crashes, and that puts it to 14 people every day. That is an omnibus full of passengers that dies every day on our roads. And of course, the majority affected are the vulnerable road users. When we talk of vulnerable road users, we mean the pedestrians. The passengers are not vulnerable because at least for them they are protected by the vehicles, but they are also dying. And this number alone has contributed to 60%. People who have no, they are not behind the wheels, the steering wheels. So they have no control of the vehicles. They have no control of the motorcycles. They are either being ridden or driven in vehicles, or they are passengers or they are pedestrians on roads. So it all, of course, now gets back to the drivers, those people behind the steering wheels on the roads. Now, the common causes, the things that have brought issues on our roads are basically two. We have unsafe overtaking, where people want to overtake in places where they cannot see what is ahead of them, which is very dangerous. Every other time I've come out to talk to people, give statistics, tell them about the accidents, because whatever accident happens, I always want to come and tell the public, for the people, because they even go ahead to urge motorists on how best, what we can do to avoid what has happened. And you'll find that in most cases, these people are trying to overtake. They are trying to overtake in corners, they are overtaking on hills, then you insist that you want to overtake. Whereas people want to overtake, even when they are ahead of them, may overtake. So what happens is that when an oncoming vehicle comes, which has the right of way to use that lane, because for you when you're overtaking, remember you are borrowing someone's lane, and we witness a head-on collision, and you hear 6 people dead, 10 people dead, and so on. Now we come to speeding and overtaking. And only those two, according to our statistics, they contributed to 44.5% of the total crashes that were registered in 2024, last year. And speeding now comes out to be a major concern, because when we talk of unsafe overtaking, you find that whoever is trying to overtake in the places that we have talked about and that they are not supposed to overtake, in one way or another, they are violating the speed limits recommended on the roads. Take, for instance, if we are talking of a busy place, a busy center, and we are talking of 30 kilometers, modulator and the listeners. So you find you violate that, then that's when you are able to overtake. When you're overtaking a queue of vehicles, 130, 140, that's when you're able to overtake. So speeding now stands out to be the major cause. Number one now, the one that has finished our people on the roads. And the challenge you asked me, moderator, about that, what is the challenge? Yes, you are hearing this, and people could be hearing and say, hey, this man knows this thing, so how comes they have failed to control this on the road? I want to tell you, I've always told people, unless I've had some people criticize the automation of these systems. Sensitization minus enforcement, it's like entertainment. It's like you are singing and someone is dancing and nothing comes out of it. So we have also told people and said, look here, and unless we automate these things, because look at how many traffic officers we find on the road. How many checkpoints will we get, for example, as you move from Kampala to Guru? In the middle of the night, how many of you have found traffic officers at 3 in the night, early in the morning? Rarely. We only get these people on the checkpoints. But in those corners where you are trying to overtake from, you are sure that there is no traffic officer here. So even if I overtake, no one will get me, no one will penalize me. I want to tell you that it's not that people do not do these things because they don't know. No, they know, but because it is convenient for them. It's cooler for them, for example, to get to where they feel they want to get, where they want to get early enough, and then that's why we find them violating. They are trying to overtake because they know in places where they're overtaking from, there is no traffic officer monitoring them. Why do we get to the roads and drive monitoring traffic officers even when we know it's our lives that we are saving, not any other person's lives? So these are the challenges, and how I wish that every unit can understand this. And not until when we all conceptualize road safety and understand road safety, and we see different body come on board. I see UBC come on board and say, no, you people come here and we talk about road safety. We all prioritize road safety. We sing road safety. We enforce road safety. I am telling you, we may not see change unless all these things we are discussing and talking about are done. So these people now continue to violate, and especially those two things that I've talked about, speeding and careless overtaking, because nobody is seeing them. And let me tell you, they're not amateurs. No, they are senior drivers, because we go ahead even to understand this person has driven for how long on the road for him to cause this. They have been there for so many years, for so many times, but they know this is what is convenient for them, and they have to overtake because they want to get places faster, get passengers, come back, make many more return journeys. In the name of making money, they end up losing their lives. Interventions and the major cause. What do we do? That's why we saw in 2023 the Parliament passed that act of the speed, and said, let's increase the fines. Maybe people may fear to lose their money, and then they comply. Because I want to tell people that when these the laws that we enforce instill discipline and change behaviors of road users. So the Parliament thought it wise, and then they said, let's pass this and then increase the fines on the roads for people to behave in fear of paying the 2 million. If you remember, they had put 2 million as the maximum penalty in case one is convicted of violating the speed limits on the road. However, that was only for now when someone is got and is taken to court. So the Ministry of Works and Transport went ahead to see how best to operationalize this regulation, and now that is where we hear and see these other new things come on board, where they are telling us of the 200,000 shillings as a fine, and that when you violate above 30 kilometers per hour, 600 Ugandan shillings, and all that. Limits on the roads and on highways, where they're now telling us that unlike before, where we used to drive at 100 kilometers per hour as the maximum speed limit, we are now looking at 90 kilometers per hour, reducing also to 30 kilometers per hour in areas of high human traffic, and the places like where you have schools, children are expected to be crossing, hospitals, churches, mosques, then community service roads and all that. These speed limits are reduced to that to protect the pedestrian. A week, you find that pedestrians normally compete with motorcyclists. I think as of now, let me be there. Then.
Okay, thank you so very much, Afande. But we also had concerns before you came, reducing some of the fares and these fines, and not really responding effectively to what reducing, like for example, drunk driving, which was a bit high, and we think it had managed the situation, but now lowering it to 200. Would this in one way or the other encourage people to spend more time in the bus and also be able to drive themselves home, because they know, if I have spent 1 million in just a bar, how about 200 that I'm going to pay when I'm being stopped or given this fine? But also losing someone's life and you only paid 1.5 million. Does that really come in the picture for someone who has lost a breadwinner?
Thank you, moderator. One,
the significance of the fines, especially. If we
I want to particularly talk about the one of drink driving, and it is not only just a fine that we are looking at, but also inconveniencing these people by detaining them, because they have to first be detained and also fingerprinted. We are saying that it will not be easy for you to just get certificate of good conduct if you are fond of drinking and driving on our roads to knock the pedestrians. So you are detained, you are fingerprinted, then if you are lucky, we give a ticket of 200,000. If not, If we decide we choose to take you to court, we take you to court. And of course, if you go to court now, the fines will not be 200,000. The penalties will be different from, because this is just an express penalty of 200,000 if we choose to give you a ticket from the station. But at times we decide to take them to court, and of course the fines are higher. It's not just 200,000 for the ticket.
Okay, interesting. We're going to open our line 776-511-426, and you share your perspectives. I can see so very many messages coming in. If I can use this very minute to go some of them. I am Innocent Mugabe. I'm listening in from Koto. The reason as to why maybe they changed and lowered the drunk driving fees to a lesser one is because maybe some of them were going to be victims of the circumstance at the end of the day, and so they had to secure their future. Okay, interesting. Gabanogu is still a problem, and we would have so many fines online, but very few would be netted to the police or government account because people would only be making calls. Okay, this is Agatha. You're live on radio?
Yes, I'm on your live at Busega.
Thank you so very much.
This is Juma.
Most welcome.
Safetiness of the road. To me, as our guest has said, pedestrians, they suffer most. But when it comes to accident on the road, I'm seeing passengers are the majority who are losing their lives. Example, a bus. When a bus overturns, a bus carry how many people? And each and every year, annually, a bus company from different companies will at least register the number of casualties, including deaths. It counts me one bus to fall in the whole year, one bus. Let me say life, like 50 lives to go at once. This is the question we are asking. Knocking this one at Busega, maybe one at Masaka, one where one bus to fall in 1 year, it can cover those one. Road signages. Some people, they have seen these signages being put by UNRWA, by KCCA, by the government to indicate whether go slow, whether go at the moderate speed, whether you fast stop over. People are abusing some government project which for helping the one-age. But now you common people. For how long will you be crying government to do this and that? And yet for you, see, you are the causer of the matter. Okay? This is going especially to the people, to the public. You, the scrap buyers, there are some with the strong heart you have because you want to work money. People are dying where they have cut that metal. We are busy working money. How about police start laying investigation about going to these scrap stores, any metal, whether it is for the train. We have Garimos. There are some good metals which were removed by unknown people, and they are there in the stores of these scrap dealers. What measures the police can do attached to those people? We need them to be brought to the book of the court of law. Don't abuse them. Don't beat them. Just arrange them to court. Let them give evidence and why and who authorized them to do this. They're dismantling government project, which is for helping us, the community. They'll find a different matter, but I travel by using a bus. A bus created inside, there is some small space for putting light bags, this handbag we carry. But into these bags, the bags are more heavier than a sack of rice you are putting down the boot. I don't know whether it can't be said. These small bags, they're too much heavy. When you collect all those bags, you weigh them, take it to weighing bridge, you'll get much kilograms. And when you add on to that, the turn of the bus, it is a normal journey. And in the corridor where we have to pass through, you have to have enough fresh air, even more luggages are there. You have to jump.
Okay.
So meaning, traffic on the road, what are you shaking? Are you shaking only for bombs or you are checking for the safetyness of the travelers.
Okay.
We have to have that respect to that. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Time is not really on our side. I would have given you more time, but time is not on my side. Responsible Ugandans. You would blame traffic and also UNRWA and so very many construction companies, but how about those where in some places they have put road signs and they have been vanting to the lives that we lose on the road? Thank you, Ivan. Akuro says that congestion in small taxis up country is alarming, and I'm wondering what police is saying about it. People are using private cars as taxis. I don't know when this started, and I don't know whether the law allows it. But apart from using their private cars, such as Wish and Primo as taxis, we are being congested and packed like luggage on top of paying high transport fares. Isn't this part of the causes of road accidents, where the driver is literally driving while sitting on the window of the car? Okay, thank you so very much, Akulo. Jackson Segawa, you say that I think Anti-Corruption Coalition, you have been fully employed. If there is a way you can access the system, we shall be able to know who has paid and who has not been paid. The Ngambanog syndrome is not going to stop. We are going to have so much money that is going to be lost because of the big figures in this country. Okay, that is Jackson Segawa. Government should really prioritize on communication and create awareness. You have so many systems and institutions that are there for communication, but we don't know what they communicate. I heard that you have a guest in for Government Interaction Center. Do they prioritize people's concerns and come to the ground to how about the government institutions that have the regional mandate to educate the people? Part of them border borders, but have buses that would be coming into the city. The more we have border borders in town, the more we have accidents. What is police doing to concerns? This is a rush hour for the second part of this edition, and I request that you use a very few minutes, if not seconds, to address some of these concerns as we address people's concerns. Christian Magezi, and then I will come to Afande Michael.
To our listeners for both the comments, the questions, and the observations, Segawa Jackson Segawa. Yes. He noted a challenge that we foresee, but we invite government to employ the highest level of transparency, because this would enable us measure the level of effectiveness of some of these measures. This is where we see that the measures have been effective or not. Again, I had spoken about the corruption that we see that is going to be embedded in these agencies and ministries, departments of government. And so, yes, our biggest concern is even as we collect the money, for that we are able to collect, by the way, because I am very sure that there are those that will go off scot-free, those that are perhaps able to pay it, but because of impunity, they will continue abusing the system and get away with it. The fine, specifically the 200,000, when you said that you will be deciding who you hand over to. So I just would want to understand what is the yardstick, what is the measure for who gets just the 200,000 fine, and who then is supposed to be taken to court if they have committed the same offense.
Okay, interesting.
Thank you once again. There is I think it was a gentleman who asked whether Government Citizen Interaction Center goes out to educate Ugandans. No, going out not yet, but online we do. But we also get information from police. We get information from works and other related organizations. So when they send us messages or information they have gotten, we put it into graphics and share it so that people can go through it. So yes, so far we are working with other government departments to create awareness. That is number one. I would also want to kind of disagree a bit with Mr. Ochiti, who seemed to emphasize that only education and awareness is the key, is the answer. No, I don't think so. Even punishment, punitive measures, because first of all, you first educate somebody, then you go out and see whether that person is following the what you taught. Now, if there's no punitive measure for every punishments, these fines are good. You are joking. They're going to be anyone who can spend 1 million shillings in the bar is not willing to pay a fine of 200,000. I can assure you. So you pay 200,000 twice, you will stop. If it's in fact, like Afande said, there are very few police people on our roads. But if that manpower can be taken now to enforce these fines, people will really understand. People understand. Then lastly, maybe Afande will also make a comment on this as we conclude. So because of many accidents, the transport system of the airplane decided that there is a manual you find in the cockpit. Whether you are a senior pilot, whether you have been piloting for 100 years, you do not switch on any button without reading on that manual. They don't tell us your experience. No. In fact, you don't read and switch on. You read and somebody switches on. With the view that maybe the police also should start forcing us to carry traffic rules books. You stop a person, it's like, show me your traffic signs book. Only that, even if you don't ask for a permit. And that becomes punitive as well. Because some of these rules we don't know.
It's one thing to have that book, and it is another thing to, to read it and understand all the signs
if I find you breaking the law with it, my punishment goes up. I'm like, but you have the rules, so why are you breaking them? Because some of us don't. There are these, for example, these middle lines. Some of them cut, some of them uncut. They can confuse you. Like, is this why I'm allowed to overtake or not? But if you have it and you are reading through all the time because you have it nearby, the learning becomes easy. Other than you just saw it when you picked your driving permit.
Okay. Thank you so very much. So very many messages still coming in, but I may not read all of them. But one is saying that this system is going to, instead of managing them, they are increasing jam, because what was the parameter of having 30 kilometer per hour, especially in Kampala? You may find that you have just been released by the lights, and before you start, they have fined you already. So this is going to cause more traffic in the city center. Someone says that OVUs are using learners cars. Yes, we have talked about this, and someone is saying, Afande, if I can address that, why? Afande, maybe to go back a little, I think it is Jirensh who put that when you go for testing, you no longer give those, I may call professional cars or what, but you are using what the car every learner brings, and you'd find that learners have opted for smaller cars. If I have a TX and I may find it difficult to park it in that box, I will borrow a VTs that I may pass the test. Don't you have resources or enough vehicles that you test these learners who have come to be tested before they are given licenses? Because if it is that, then we are only giving licenses for just fulfilling the
about if you have ever observed on those permits, one thing, it has restrictions for if, for example, you are tested in a manual vehicle, then you can only, you are allowed to drive both manual and automatic, and it is indicated on the permit. And then if you are being tested in an automatic vehicle, then you are not supposed to drive a manual vehicle on the road. I think that thing people did not know. So when we are on our roads, we check for that thing. We see if there are restrictions, then we get to understand. So where someone chooses to be tested in an automatic vehicle, we don't refuse and say, no, you have to do it. If someone will tell you, I have a what? I have an automatic, according to the laws there, whether it is FTs or as long as we say this is class B, then that's it. Maybe if now it goes to the other big vehicles, the tippers, the fusos, and the buses. My brother here talked about the books. We have highway codes. For some of you could be knowing them, and we give these books. They are in different. We give in our sensitizations, like I told you that I had sensitizations. So we give these books, and people have these books. But like I earlier said, yes, there are people who may not be having this information. But I want to tell you that the majority of the drivers on our roads know these things. So it's not that because as talked about, has asked me, that we have said we can choose to give you a ticket, we can choose to take you to court. How do we determine that? That one, it is determined by the commander on ground or the officer on ground. I think depending maybe on what he has gone through to get you. You know, so some motorists are very stubborn here. There are those ones that actually last night we conducted a drink driving, and we have got a number of them. I'm yet to talk about it in the social media. We got a number of drunken drivers, and there are those that you go, it's like a battlefield to get them. So depending, of course, and at times when you also see that people are not complying, at times we choose for court. There are times we just decide, and the director of traffic just announces and says, no, this time around in this operation, I don't want to hear that you are giving tickets. Whoever you arrest, take to where, because that is when people can to make that choice and to decide and say, I'm taking you to court or I'm giving you a ticket. But the fingerprinting and the detention, those ones are a must to do. There's nothing like we are getting you and then we are letting you go because now you are drunk. How will you go with the vehicle? Of course, many other people are giving many suggestions which were very good, but one thing I want to tell Ugandans and the listeners is that when we wake up and all get to know that we have laws to pray, I am telling you, we are going to combat these crashes. Now, if you tell us stealing these road signs on the road, then what is the role, for example, of the chairperson LC1, who has been like, and his road, his segment has been constructed by the government and put all the infrastructures. So you cannot safeguard that road, and you let those things are taken, and you say, let police come and do its work. No way. You are a passenger in a vehicle. Someone talked about excess. Now, I want to ask myself, or ask our listeners, the people who are being piled in these vehicles, aren't they human beings who can speak or who can talk, who can even complain? How often are we going to the public or the communities and shared our numbers, even those that are toll free, that you don't even need airtime to call on? How many of you have called us? Yes, some of you have called, but others have not called us. We have seen people on stages, they stand and say, me, I want the one which is already full. Why should you look for the one which is already full? And do you know what they do, Mr. Moderator? These drivers, as they approach the traffic checkpoints, they will offload them, they will offload passengers, put them on motorcycles, pay them 1,000 each, tell them, past the checkpoint, we are going to meet you there, and sit back in the vehicle. Really? Are we magicians? Are we magicians, traffic officers, for us to dream and know that this vehicle that is coming, it has offloaded people and put them on the motorcycle, that we arrest you? Of course not. So we need everyone, if you are in a vehicle, and keep quiet. No way. You have to come out and speak out and say, Mr. Driver, and some of them, by the way, because of this sensitization, understand that we are monitoring them from all angles and corners. They will not just violate. Because they know, yes, as much as I'm not seeing Kanana here, maybe someone else is seeing me and I don't know. Or else maybe the people I'm carrying, I don't know, maybe they are traffic officers or they are army or whatever. So that is what can save the situation. Otherwise, us alone or other entities, Ministry of Works and other stakeholders that we deal with, we can never solve these challenges on the roads. Everyone, like I say, everyone. If it is a primary school, arrest the motorcycles that we pile our children on. These motorcycles. You find two families hiring one motorcycle. They put 6 children. Not, it is me. So as much as now the committee is now blaming us and blaming us and saying, you see what is happening. What is traffic doing? They are sleeping. They are eating money. So you, a parent now, why do you put these 6 children None of them has a helmet. Some are in front, others are behind, others are just there. I'm telling you, all this is happening on our roads, but you really see that we have neglected our duties, we have neglected our responsibilities as road users. Let us not wait to learn from bad experiences. I have a friend of mine who was telling me that he was fined 200,000 for speeding once. He paid. He's someone who loves speeding. Second time, he was fined again. So the man sat down, saw the 400,000 go. He said, now really, this money, wouldn't I have used it to pay school fees for my children? Now, if for example, I observe the speed limits on the road, whose life do I save? Traffic officers' lives or police officers' lives? No way. It's my own life. So I better observe the speed limits on the road as I save my life, save lives of road. I am the most disciplined drivers. But what do we see? That people, as they approach traffic, they are the most humble. They reduce speed. They even lower glasses. They wave at us. They move. Let them go past where we are. They start flying again. You can see. This is what we are going through. This is what we are going through. So people don't violate these things because they don't know. I insist. They know, and they know.
Are you leveraging on the cameras that are already established and all the mechanisms that we have already, or you are going to add on something that is different?
No, the cameras are available, are being used, and they're being connected to the new ones. But of course, they are also adding in other places where these cameras have not been on. In some places, like especially on highways where these people are speeding, and hopefully that these cameras will really bring some sanity. And to those who are making noise, it is simple. You can just choose to obey, and then you don't pay this money.
I find are you not bothered that the 30 km per hour may end up causing jam, especially in Kampala CBD, because coming from Wakiso to town would take us maybe 40 minutes to 1 hour, but now considering this new system, one may spend 3 hours coming to work. How is this going to be especially enhancing productivity and work?
In the wisdom of the ministry and other stakeholders who were consulted, they thought it wise to maybe have that 30. But these are things that can be changed anytime. Let the thing start. And if it causes issues, the same people that start and put it, they will sit again and change it. To me, that shouldn't be an issue.
Is there
people have raised it time and again. But to me, let it start, and then we see.
I find is there a fine that is there to fine those who have not paid their fines?
Yes. Those who have not paid their fines, a surcharge is 50%. And the express penalty scheme was also revised. It was reviewed. So when it was reviewed, there were some changes, of course, to cater for the new developments like the ITMS project, the new digital number plates, and many other things that were included in. And then also now the tiered penalties for the speed. We are seeing that if you violate between 1 kilometer to 30 kilometers per hour in excess of the speed limit that is recommended on the road, you pay a fine of 200. If you don't pay that money within 72 hours, according to the new regulations, then it attracts a surcharge of 50%. So it means that if the money has been 600,000, the surcharge of 600,000 is 300,000. Now it becomes 900,000, and that has been put to 3 days. That is 72 hours, unlike before where it was a month. Yeah. So I think that is important also for people to know. A surcharge remains there, but if people pay in time, then they will not meet that surcharge. And if also people now observe these speed limits that we are talking about, the better really. You save your life, and then you also save your pocket.
Interesting. How are you coordinating, Afande, with especially other stakeholders? Like the other time we lost Rajiv Ruparelia, and many sure that they had put people doing things in the way they want. Putting about cases at 10 they say they were not there, at midnight they are there, in the morning they are not there. Someone doing the way they wish, as if we don't have rules in this country. But also the other thing, how are you coordinating with the construction companies especially that have been entrusted with our roads. After the road has been commissioned, as traffic police, do you always go ahead and do some inspections and before this road is commissioned and be used by the road users?
Yeah, of course, that is now the work of moderator. That is the work of the Ministry of Works and Transport, and I think which it has been doing. For us as traffic police, I've already told you, I've told people that our work is just to enforce.
But how do you then come in to fine me for violating a certain traffic rule, even when there was no indication that I did? Because if you say there is a corner, and I'm not, and there is no sign to that, if they say that I'm supposed to be driving below 30 kilometers per hour, yet there is no signpost, maybe it was vandalized or something, or the contractor didn't put it.
Now, of course, the ministry is our stakeholder, and whatever we observe and see on the roads, we inform them, and then they try to fix some of these things. For example, we are telling them that for this now to be effective, this signage, there must be proper signage. We must know, because you'll find, like, for example, on some highways where we do not have those beautiful places, they have now come up. So it means that those points have to be changed to 30 kilometers per hour. And we don't expect, of course, people to be knowing, not until when the signpost is put there. However, I also want to let people know that these other ones of like the 90 kilometers per hour being the maximum speed limit that we have to drive at, we may not expect that one now to be finding it everywhere, but it is something as a senior driver on the road that we expect you to have studied and known these things. So you should be knowing, as much as we also continue to sensitize, but you are supposed to be knowing, because I've always seen it an argument among drivers where police officers get them and they say, because it used to be 100, and they say you are in 120, and then they ask them, where is the signpost? I don't expect you to ask for the signpost. We know that in Uganda, the maximum speed limit has been 100. It has now been changed to 90. So if you are got in 110, don't ask for the signpost. But these points where there are schools, maybe they have not been there, they have now been put there. Of course, we also expect you not to be knowing. So the ministry has to inform you by putting the sign and proper signage, and then also those people who have been stealing them, let other people also help us now to make sure that these things are not stolen. Like the local authorities, probably the minister has also been engaged to put something that cannot be taken for scrap, something that you may not steal to take. Or even, we have even seen some changes where these speed limits are being put marked on the road. That one cannot be stolen, we are sure.
Okay.
We are trying to improve really with our stakeholders to make sure that all things really fit.
To address some of those challenges.
The challenges, of course, are there. Like in any other job, whatever, you find those challenges. And some of them, I talked about them. That number one, that people have not fully conceptualized road safety. Whenever we see these problems, people run to blame it on traffic police. They do not know that they also have roles to play. Everyone has a role to play. Road safety is a collective responsibility. That is what people must understand and know. If we all get to understand that and do what we are supposed to be doing, we are going to ease the work for our traffic police officers. Many other, of course, challenges, like if you look in the city here, we are not, for example, even supposed to be controlling jam. But if you don't control jam, you know what can happen. But for us, we are supposed to be enforcing. And the enforcement we are talking about, look at those ones who run the red lights, my friends of borders. They're like a swarm, 100 of them, beating the lights. How many traffic officers are standing there? 2. And you hear the public asking you, why can't you arrest them? You can arrest 100. So those are some of the challenges. And that's what we always told people, that we need to automate some of these systems.
Interesting.
To ease our work.
Interesting. The conversation is still good, but time on my side, I may request for your parting shots and concluding remarks as we end our conversation on UBC Ground Zero. I'll start with you, Christine Magezi, then Afande Michael will sum it all.
For me, it is about basically looking at both the proactive and to see some multi-sectoral actions, beyond just the National Road Safety Council. How is the Ministry of Works coming in? For example, we see that most of our road designs are prioritizing vehicles over pedestrians, over cyclists, and yet these are also modes of transportation, walking and etc. So if we have constructed roads, for example, can we also, during the monitoring, can we emphasize or look out for how pedestrians are being protected by those roads, but also to emphasize, again, Mr. Kananura and the rest of us, of course. How are we working with other stakeholders, with other key stakeholders? We have, of course, government. Government cannot run away from this role of protecting its citizens. But how are we working with the rest of us? We've talked about the LCs. You have the Ochitis, Mr. Ochiti Charles from the private sector. We have insurance companies who have a role. Someone told us that these ones are interested in the money, but they run and shy away from raising awareness. How are we bringing these ones on board? And then, of course, we have some specific cars, which I'll not mention, but those who have associations, of these specific brands of cars, and for them, their motto is that never allow another car to be ahead of you, something like that, How are we reaching out? Thank God you said you're in charge of raising awareness, work you do, but when you're alone, you cannot manage to do all this. So how do we leverage all this, have a network countrywide to citizens out there? Government will not lose their life because you're overspeeding and you've gotten an accident. If you die in an accident, it is your family. You've probably been the breadwinner. You're depleting our resource as a country. We've seen, I think, over 300 billion that is going towards victims of accidents in different hospitals.
Okay. Thank you. Interesting. Magezi?
I will still emphasize personal responsibility. Like Afande said, this war can only be fought collectively. But so it starts with us. In that place where the late Rajiv got an issue, I passed there several times, so I got to understand that it's suspicious all the time. Okay. So even when the time I drove there before you got an accident, I think I was driving 10 because I wanted to go off that road, but I wasn't so sure if there are barriers or not. But I think because he had been out of the country, he unfortunately did not know.
Okay.
But let us be responsible as citizens and start within us.
Afande, in seconds.
Thank you so much, moderator. My last remarks are that I call upon and urge everyone that let's prioritize road safety. Well knowing, like I've said it before, that this is a collective responsibility. Police alone, there's nowhere we can go unless we have other people on board. My sister here talked about how do we have these other people come on board. Those engagements have always been ongoing. Even as I speak, I think yesterday or Thursday, we were concluding a tour, and that much alone really showing government a commitment to road safety. And of course, the CSOs and the media, you people are doing wonderful things for us. So let's continue doing this. At times, me, I move a lot. Do you know that we get, this is an opportunity, let's talk to people. So let's all be concerned. This is our country, we have to develop it together. Okay. And we all have what to do to contribute to make sure that our country is a better place to live in. Thank you so much, and thank you for hosting us, UBC, and for the commitment also to road safety, because we have always, even when I was in Mbarara, UBC and Kahona, people used to host me, and we used to talk to the communities or to the public. Thank you so much. God bless you.
The end of our conversation. It has been a big time that we have shared together as we learn, and we need really to take responsibility as road users, all of us, and we have a role to play, and especially on providing sustainable solutions. We also spotlight the new automated traffic enforcement system as a potential game changer in promoting in promoting road safety and discipline. It was a privilege having you, Afande, Superintendent of Police, Ngiro Project Manager coming from Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda, and also Magezi Kirinju, Communications Officer, Government Interaction Center. And we also had a chat with Chiti Charles, who enlightened us on a number of projects and activities they're doing in northern Uganda, Chole sub-region, Teso sub-region, and Western Nile sub-region. That brings us to the end of our discussion. We thank you, the team that I worked with, and we have really entered some minutes into another program on the journey with the George Ngobi. And we want to thank you for all that have been there, especially you, our listener, for being part of UBC Ground Zero. Until next time, same stations. The program, the repeat of this program is always on Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. and also on Voice of Butebo, same time on Monday. For God and my country, I'm Peter Monoptega, and I'm saying out. Shalom.
Thank you for tuning in to your voice program on UBC Radio. UBC Radio, inspiring.